Hi, and welcome to another installment of Monkey Mind Podcast, Chatter About the Chatter. And as we get different speakers on and we get different coaches coming in and talking about their lives and their experiences, today's chat is going to be, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest to all our listeners. It's going to be raw. I believe it's going to be raw. Our guest speaker today is Frances Leonard. She's the founder of Raise Yourself Coaching, and she's also a feminine presence teacher. Now, that's got a big, and I've noticed a lot of the guests I have on this show are ladies. I've noticed that there's been a connection, and we're going to try and get more gentlemen onto the chatter about the chatter. But the Monkey Mind podcast, Frances, is talking about chatter about the chatter. And I know that you've got a fabulous story, a raw story, a very real story that some people might listen to this and go, whoa. And I think that's something that needs to be out there. And I love your premise of putting light on the shame, putting light on the shame. I think that was a sentence that you said before we started filming. I think that's fantastic. So look, Frances, introduce yourself. Tell us to all the world of Monkey Mind Relaxation about you, and just introduce yourself and bring yourself to the light, if you like.
Hi, Goody. Thank you so much for having me on here. Yes, I am Frances Leonard, um, and I am a coach. I am a coach, a women's kind of empowerment coach, is what I like to say, that deals in a lot of feminine presence. And for me, a lot of the rawness comes from spending so much of my life not wanting to be seen. I had my Facebook page in Irish for over 10 years because I was worried about people finding me on Facebook. And it was really, really confusing for people because they'd be like, is this Frances? And I'd be like, yeah, I know it's in Irish. And people were trying to pronounce the name, which is Pruntius. Um, so that is something that is my need for not wanting to be seen, because I was just so afraid of being judged, of being um ridiculed and all the rest of it. I was just absolutely terrified of who I was, terrified of being called airy fairy. I remember actually it was airy fairy. I didn't want to come up as somebody because I've always kind of been in a spiritual path, and I always been drawn to more spirituality. And I was like, I don't want to come across as airy fairy, so I'm just going to hide who I am.
And we've been speaking for a while, which is why we've done the podcast, which is why I wanted to get you on the podcast, because you have hidden for a while, and you have a fantastic story, especially for any of our listeners who are, because you were a single parent.
Yes, I was,
Yeah,
yeah.
so and the chatter about the chatter, we talked about you being a parent, and the premise of Raise Yourself coaching is about self-care. So we need to talk about self-care, because I think self-care is one of those things that it has I think it has a connotation. I think it does have a connotation that self-care is selfish. And
Selfish,
we
yeah.
talked about that, and I think I wanted you to explain why there is still, why is there a struggle, or why at one point did you struggle in being able to give yourself 30 minutes of you time away from the everything that's going on? Because people struggle to give themselves
Yeah.
30 minutes away,
Yeah.
or half a day to themselves, so they can go away, go for a walk, take in those thoughts, and the chatter about the chatter, which we're going to get to shortly. So what is the premise of self-care according to Frances?
Yeah, it's true. It there is a selfish kind of aspect about taking that time for yourself, especially for mums, especially because we feel like we have these kids and we have this responsibility, and there's a guilt if we take time away from our children. We just have this guilt inside of ourselves, to because kids, they do kind of attach to mums a bit more. And I remember if I wanted to go to school or anything, or my child, and she'd cling on to me like crying because I was leaving, which is something in me, obviously, that was attracting her because of this guilt. And there is a guilt to it. But the problem is when we let our cup get so, what self-care is, it's really about filling up your cup first. It's about giving to yourself, so that putting your oxygen mask on first. That's the term that we've heard, especially anyone who travels. Because if you don't give to you, you can't give enough to other people. And there's so many, I don't know, is it the way that we were raised, or I don't know what it is, but society does kind of tell women more so than men, it's our job to look after people. It's our job to take that role. And when we think, oh, do you know, 10 minutes to myself or something, it feels like a lot. It feels like an effort to give that time to yourself. It does feel like an effort when you're like that, but it is so essential. It's, you don't even realize, I've said it before, but you get resentments building up inside of you when you're constantly giving to other people and give, and you're not taking that time to refill and recharge you're like, why is everybody else so happy? Why do they deserve to be happy? And these resentments start building up in you, and you're like, yeah, but you do feel them.
So I have some questions. I think it's going to be great for a lot of our listeners and stuff like that, especially the single parents that are going to come across this. There must have been a point for you, from my understanding, for you to really want to really advertise self-care in being a parent. You must have gone through a time where you didn't give yourself self-care. And the fact that you didn't give yourself self-care took you down a route of a different journey. And I'll let you explain the journey. But why did you think you, at one point, you couldn't give yourself self-care? So for any of our listeners, why did you think you had to do everything and you couldn't do yourself self-care?
Yeah, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy of self-care. I remember at one stage I was reading Louise Hay. Louise Hay was my first introduction into self-improvement. And she used to talk about doing mirror work. And the first time I looked into a mirror and really looked at myself, I couldn't pick one nice thing out about myself. I really couldn't. I hated so much about myself. I couldn't walk by a mirror and look at myself and say something nice about me. And that's harsh. Like, it's harsh to think about that. But that also comes on. If you can't think of nice things about you, that shows up in other things where you can't think nice things about other people. And I have said it to you already about my breaking point, my absolute breaking point.
Yeah.
And it isn't an easy thing to admit. It isn't at all. When my daughter, she's almost 15 now. She's a great little thing. She's almost 15, but she was going through a challenging time. She was going through a really, really challenging time. It was challenging for both of us. And I remember sitting down one morning. I got up and I wanted to do like gratitude, or I wanted to do something. I knew, like, our relationship was so bad at the time that she came downstairs and I would I pounce on her. I'd be like, where's your cups? Why is your cups in your room? And like, when she comes downstairs and she's met with that kind of conflict, she doesn't want to come downstairs. And when
Oh,
I think about it now, I can't really blame her. But she'd come downstairs and I would be like, oh, like, have you had your shower yet? Will you clean up after the dishes? You never help around the house. You never do this. You never do that. Um, why can't you be a better sister? Why can't you be this? And this was what was going on in my mind all the time. And it's no wonder she wanted to stay, but that stay up in her room all the time. And I used to think like, oh my God, she doesn't want to come downstairs. She doesn't want to spend time with me. And that was her fault. That wasn't my fault. That was her fault because she was a teenager and she wanted her phone a little bit more. And I'd be a psychopath with her phone. Like, I'd take her phone away from her for days because she was bad, she was wrong. And I remember, so I wanted to do something about this relationship. Like, I wanted to do something. It had gotten to the point where we were always arguing, like always arguing, and I hated it because it left me guilty. It left me guilty, even though it was all her fault. It left me guilty. So I remember I was one morning I was after reading the American Morning, and I got up at 5 o'clock and I was sat there and I was doing the few little bits. I was doing my journaling, and I was doing tapping. I had learned tapping from Graham where we met. I was doing tapping from that, and I was tapping on the relationship, how bad the relationship was. And I remember wanting to do some gratitude and not being able to find one nice thing to say about my daughter.
right. So stop right there because that's a really, really good, valid point. Now, gratitude, as we spoke about, gratitude is one of those words that is the most overused, understood words. Hashtag
Yeah.
blessed, hashtag gratitude, especially with everything that's gone on with COVID and all those kind of things, is one of the most overused, understood words. So you've stumbled it on when people say, "Oh, have some gratitude" and stuff like that. Oh, and have a positive mindset. So you've thought, right, I need to have some gratitude, not just for me, but I'm going to put gratitude out for someone else, because that's the true meaning of gratitude is when you are sat there in the pit down low. How is it you can find gratitude? So you've found
Yeah.
something that's working for you, which is the journaling and the gratitude,
Yeah.
and you're sat there trying to find something nice to think about your daughter, and you can't.
I can't think of one nice thing to say about her. Not one. Imagine. That
That's
was
and how
a
does
low
that affect
thing.
the chatter about that's the chatter that we're trying to talk about for everybody, for any life coach or anyone that's listening. Is this is the chatter about the chatter, because that then how was that for you? How was that for you to be sat there thinking, right, I'll write some gratitude for my daughter, and oh,
Yeah.
I can't yet. So Francis,
Yeah.
what was the chatter
That
like
way
right there?
it was harsh. It was harsh. It it was like something switched inside me, and everything that I've been blaming her for, I was
Wasn't.
like, no,
It's not.
it's not her.
It's
It's not her. It was me. It was on me. And I had to take that responsibility that it was me. Because I had blamed her for everything, as we do. We are so readily put the blame on other people. And it came as a shock to me that I put so much blame on my 13-year-old, my 12-year-old, whatever she was at the time, this beautiful little girl that I created that was in my life, and I blamed her for my life, for the way I had turned out, for my unhappiness. I blamed her for my unhappiness.
and
Yeah, that's what it was.
it's harsh. It's harsh. This is a raw conversation. This is a fascinating
Yeah.
conversation that these conversations need to get out there. So, wow, thank you first of all. Yeah, Francis,
Ah,
I know.
that's it.
And this is it is those places that people around us get to, and we feel like we can't talk about it when we're in those
Yeah.
places. And we've talked about shadow work, and it's something I'm looking into, because I find that fascinating, of looking that we've all got shadows, we've all got dark sides. Everybody's got dark sides. I hold my hands up to that, and it's what scares us. And it scares us, and unless we talk about it and get that message out for all the people that want to listen and things like that, that's when you're starting to put light on that darkness. And I am pretty much not a parent, but I am
Hmm.
100% sure that someone's going to read this and go, that was me. That
Yeah.
that was me. I was a parent. So you couldn't think of any gratitude for your daughter. You were blaming. We often we understand projection. We project our upset and our anger and frustration because you weren't looking after yourself. You were just constantly giving and giving and giving. So in case
Yeah.
anyone's missed that, you are constantly giving, giving, giving. So there's going to be people listening.
Yeah.
You constantly give, and then you think you're not getting anything back. So there's no self-care because you're thinking, well, I'll constantly give, I'll constantly give, I'll constantly give,
Yeah.
and then you get nothing back. And that's that trade that we often think, oh, well, if I do this, people should do this for us, right? But
Yeah.
that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's the mindset. It's the mindset that we get into, and that's the premise of self-care. Is if you keep giving yourself to absolutely everyone else, whether it's your family, whether it's your children, you have to do something. If you've got to have that little piece of joy, something that
Yeah.
you need for you,
Yeah.
Francis, or any of the parents. There's got to be something, because while ever you keep giving a piece away of yourself, I call it the Jenga the
Yeah.
Jenga model. I do this with a lot of my clients when I'm working with my clients, is consider yourself a Jenga tower. You have to give pieces of yourself away. There's things that we have to do. We know that. There's going to be, it comes up. So I'm going to give that little piece away. But if you keep giving and giving and giving, what happens to the Jenga tower? Falls over.
You collapse.
You collapse. So you're
Mm.
going to have to keep pieces of yourself there so that you can be the person that you need to be for your children and those things. So Francis, that's a fascinating story, and your honesty is raw, very much appreciated, especially for some of our listeners, because these are the things we're
Yeah.
scared to
It's
talk
not an
about. So
easy thing to
no,
admit.
it's
Yeah.
not. It's a
It's
horrible
not
thing
at
to admit.
all.
And we think we're
Yeah.
holding it all together. We think we're holding it together, and we're it's the I'm fine concept, isn't it? That I think the I'm fine is basically the beacon for you're not fine. You're not fine. Accept and admit you are not fine. And we can there's things out there that can help, whether it's life coaches, whether it's therapy, whatever you choose to. There is something out there. We need to get past this saying I'm fine.
But you not think, like, I think personally that we are so out of touch with our feelings that we don't know how to tell somebody how we feel. So our fine is the I'm fine is the default because we don't know ourselves enough. We don't know who we are. We haven't been inside ourselves to know what is this feeling. What is this actual feeling? Is this feeling sadness? Is this feeling anger? We don't know because we push all our feelings away so often that we just don't know how to even describe them anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So what kind of self-care did you start doing for yourself to get you, because there's a beautiful story about how you and your daughter are now and how you parent and how things, for anyone listening to this now as a single parent
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a parent and are listening to this right now, what self-care, how did you go from not being able to look at your daughter and say she's beautiful and blaming, because that's what happens, that's that mindset. We know that this is that inner child work that you discussed before. But at what point,
Yeah.
what can you now say to anyone listening? What's the self-care you did? What was the self-care you did?
Yes. Well, as you have said before, gratitude is probably one of the most overused and misunderstood words that there is. And I have a story, but I used to have like a gratitude journal. I had it a couple of years ago, and I'd write down, I am grateful for my daughter, I'm grateful for my partner, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my house. And that is what I did. And then I closed the gratitude book, put it down, and went about my day. And it didn't work. Surprise, surprise. Gratitude is gratitude is more than that, and gratitude is the single most powerful thing that I have used. And meditation is exceptionally powerful too, but gratitude for me was, why am I grateful for that? Why am I grateful for my house and the things that I mentioned? I'm grateful for my house because it's warm, it feels secure, I have a bed every night to sleep in. And you feel that, and you feel that, and you know gratitude is working when you smile, and your smile is big and it's bright. And then you close your book of your gratitude journal after you've practiced gratitude, and it stays with you all day. If you are doing it right, it stays with you all day. You are doing the mundane jobs of doing the dishes, and you're doing them, and you are thankful in that moment for the running water, and your presence, it remains presence with you. I started doing Art of Feminine Presence, which is all about being very, very present in your body and understanding how we are feeling, and understanding that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have resentments. It's okay to feel these. What's not okay is to push them aside and only want to feel happiness. Because as soon as you do that, and you push away the anger, that's what comes up. The anger just keeps coming back and says, I'm here, listen to me, 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 until you explode. But when you are sit with that anger, and you sit with the reasons that you're feeling it, and you're like, yeah, okay, it wasn't nice what happened to me today. I didn't enjoy that experience. And you sit with it, and you're sitting with your anger, and you're sitting with the emotions that you're feeling. It doesn't have that effect, and we naturally go back to a natural state, which is peace and joy. Meditation does the same for us, because it helps us sit with ourselves. It helps us to clear the mind and to be okay with whatever comes up. The thoughts that come up in our heads, it's okay to have them thoughts. Just don't grab them and keep grabbing at them until they become your identity and your personality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fantastic.
Yeah. So it's what's the whole idea of self-care, is to sit with you, to sit with you in whatever way feels comfortable. Meditation, exercise, gratitude. There is journaling is very, very big for me. I've even said it before, journaling when you're feeling down is very good, because it helps you to see the thoughts and then pick out and say, I don't think that. But journaling when you're feeling happy is a special, special thing to do.
Good stuff. Absolutely fantastic. So when it comes to feminine presence, and we briefly touched on shadow work, which is, I really am going to deep dive the shadow work, because I think that's fascinating. I mentioned that after we'd had the conversation a few days ago, shadow work started popping up on my Facebook feed, and things like that. And I think
Yeah.
even Deepak Chopra started doing shadow work, which he wasn't before. And I'm like, so that's definitely something I need to look into. So briefly explain, you said, we mentioned about doing something for anyone that's listening. Of it was the, you told me I was gonna have to stand up, so I put pants on for the thing, for the podcast. So talk me through what we're gonna do, and how we're gonna. This is putting me on edge, so this is certainly taking me out of my comfort zone. So what is it you wanted to share, Francis?
So with shadow work, the idea of shadow work, which is a big part of, well, it's a little part, it's a big part, it's a little part of Art of Feminine Presence. It's to be aware of our shadow and the things that we say is bad. So for me, one of my biggest shadows that I've been working with was being a disappointment. Um, I have another story of that. I was named after my aunt who had passed away. And because I was named after somebody, I always thought that I couldn't live up to that. And I fought my whole life about being a disappointment. And it's only when I embraced being a disappointment and being like, yeah, okay, it's okay to be a disappointment. I'm not able to please everybody all the time. I think that's the thing with shadow. It's allowing yourself to say no. It's allowing yourself to be a disappointment so that you don't have to give to everybody all the time. You can say, no, I'm going to disappoint you today. And you can pick what brings you the joy.
That's self-care. You don't have to keep saying yes. That's the Jenga model. You've got to keep some Jengas up, but there's got to be at some point. Nah, no, accept the disappointment. I love that. Fantastic. Good stuff. Brilliant.
Yes. So what, if you want to do the practice?
I would love to do the practice. I'm a bit scared now though.
So there's some things about ourselves that we really, really accept very, very quickly. You might accept that you're a positive person, a good husband, and they're the type of things you're like, yeah, that's me, 100% that's me. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, that is very much me. And then there's other parts of ourselves, yeah, see, but you are very smart and you're very intelligent. And there's dark shadows and there's light shadows. And the light shadows is seeing yourself as intelligent. That is a light shadow. It's the good aspects that we can't see. And there is good aspects of each of us that we just can't see. And people tell us that this is, yeah, we are that, and we can't see it. So what I'm going to do is I want to stand up, because we really want to feel into our bodies. We really want to feel how these words. Yeah, you can, yeah. If you move back a bit, till I just see you. Can you move back?
Oh, I like it. Can you still hear me on the microphone?
Yes. Lovely. So I'm going to read out some words to you, and I want you to say them to yourself and feel into your body and feel, is this me? And you tell me if it's a yes or a no. If you can honestly say, this is me. Okay. So this is what your shadow is. So if you just feel, and if there's any tweaks or anything, or you're a bit uncomfortable with the words that I'm saying, just say, no, that's not me.
If I'm uncomfortable with the word that you're saying, I say, no, that's not me.
Yeah, you can just say no. Because some people do. They're like, are you this? No, I am not. I am definitely not that.
Okay.
Because there is some things that might trigger you. And this is what working with your shadow is about. Okay, you ready? There's actually noise going on here. I'm just going to shut the door. Okay.
I'm interested about some of the words. So we're dealing with the shadows.
Okay. I am wise.
No.
I am stupid.
Yes. But I don't mind that.
I am special.
No.
I am ordinary.
No.
Are you sure?
Pardon?
Are you sure? I should have asked you actually. Are you sure you're not that? Is there any part of you that doesn't feel like I am ordinary? Do you have any doubts? I should have asked you that for all of them actually.
Yes, I do have a doubt that I am ordinary.
Okay.
I don't think I'm special, but I like to think that I'm moving in a direction that would get me understanding more. I think understanding and clarity makes you special, and I would like to move into that. Have we gone too deep there?
No.
Cool.
So do you have any doubts that you're special? Have you any doubts about that?
Yes.
So there is doubts. You're saying you're not special, but you are doubting it.
Oh. Well, I don't think. Also, that would be. Wow. No, I'm not doubting I'm special. I'm not special. I'm not doubting that I'm not special. No.
Okay. I am a victim.
No.
Have you any doubts about that?
No.
I am a perpetrator. Perpetrator. I am a perpetrator.
I don't know what perpetrator means.
It's somebody. Perpetrator is like somebody that it's the other side of victim, somebody that goes after innocent people or hurts people.
Oh,
Somebody that hurts
absolutely
people.
not. Not one bone in my body. No.
No.
No. And to answer the next question, am I doubtful about that? No. There's not one part of me that wants to hurt anybody.
Are you needy?
Sometimes.
So yes.
Yes.
Are you self-sufficient?
Am I what?
Self-sufficient.
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Not always.
But yes.
Yes.
You are. I am superior.
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Have you doubts?
I think in some situations I can be superior. I think I have certain knowledges and understanding of things. So I will accept that I maybe think I'm superior in some instances.
Okay. Are you inferior?
In some areas, yes. There's so many things I don't know about. So yes, I am completely inferior in yes.
Okay. I am in integrity.
I am integrity. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I am a cheater.
That's a good one. Can I share why? That's a good one.
Okay, why is that a good one?
Because I'm a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
And his autobiography was you're going to have to break rules. To get where you want in life, you're going to have to break some rules. You can't live by rules, which would technically make me a cheater. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, I wanted to explain the definition of cheater first before I say, yes, I'm a cheater.
Yes. There's no need to explain it.
I want to explain it because
there's a doubt there. You're like, I can only be a cheater if it falls under this premise.
Yes. Oh, look at the body language. He's putting his hands in right open.
Yeah. This is deep for you. I can feel it. I can feel you're uncomfortable.
I am. I'm doing this because I want to be uncomfortable. Absolutely.
I am independent.
Yes.
Are you sure about that? Any doubts?
Yeah, I have doubts about that. I do have doubts about that one.
I am dependent.
I am dependent. I think I have to be really honest there. I am dependent because I'm dependent on love.
Yeah. I am a leader.
I am a leader, yes.
Any doubts?
No.
I am a follower.
When I'm learning, when I need to learn, I know there's a time I need to follow. So, but I don't like being a follower. So I'm going to say no, I'm not a follower.
And that's all the questions.
Nice.
And I can tell the one that had the supercharge with you was the predator.
What?
That was the one that had supercharged. You see, the thing with shadow work is we are all of these things.
Right.
All of these things are in our repertoire, every one of them. A victim is in our repertoire. There is good things to being a victim.
Explain.
Really good things to being. So for being a victim, we're living in this age now with the Me Too movement, and they're so against women saying, like, I have been a victim. I've been a victim. And by not agreeing to that, women are nearly taking more responsibility on themselves because they feel like they can't give into that. They can't give into that victimhood for a little while. And they're taking a responsibility that I have to be strong. I have to put on a brave face. I have to take this side away from me because the world wants me to be something else. It wants me to be strong. It wants me to not to say, like, I have been hurt. And we deny ourselves that. We deny, by saying we're not a victim, we deny that. We deny the chance to really feel that hurt and say, it's okay, that wasn't right what happened to me, but I'm okay. No. And by refusing to look at victimhood and say, I am not a victim, I am a survivor, we take away that vulnerability from ourselves, and we expect better from ourselves. But if we can embrace victimhood and be like, I was victimized, that's okay, I was hurt, it wasn't nice what was done to me, it heals in a different way than by pushing it away and pushing it down.
Nice. So yeah. This is shadow work. This is definitely something I'm going to start looking into. Thank you so much. So, and
you are special, and you are ordinary. Yes. You are special. You are ordinary, because sometimes that's what it calls for. Sometimes it calls for us to be special and to shine in a different way, and sometimes it calls for us to sit back a bit and let somebody else shine, and for us to be special. And the more that we embrace every part of us, then we can just dip into ourselves and be like, okay, I'll sit back and I'll be ordinary right now. But if we're like, no, I'm not ordinary, I am not ordinary, and we're pushing that away, then we can't let other people shine. And it comes across in our conversations and the way we are.
Nice. Right. That's really good, because I like that an awful lot. So do you often find yourself around people that just constantly talk about themselves? And whenever you've said, oh, I've done this, somebody will come in and say, oh, I did that +2.
Yes, I do that sometimes.
Oh, you do that? You're being honest about doing that?
Sometimes I'll own that. I do that sometimes, yeah.
I'll own that. I love that, because we call them, if I've been to Tenerife, that person's been to 11 Reef.
Yes. Yeah.
It's funny.
There is situations I do that. Yeah. There is situations I do that. Yeah.
I've caught myself,
which is funny.
It. Yes, it is, because you walk away from the conversation. Oh, I've been to 11 Reef. I did that. And that really frustrates me when other people do it. You get yourself into conversations. You're just like, when is this person going to stop talking about themselves? And it really is just, it's like, oh, they're still talking. Right. Okay. But we all have to have those moments sometimes, right? We all have to. I walk away from conversations. I had a conversation with someone, and they just asked me one question, and it just came under the radar that this question came in, and I just rattled off for about 45 minutes, and it came to the end of the conversation. I was like, right, I'll see you tomorrow. And you put the phone down, and it was on Messenger. I'm like, I don't think that was the premise of that question in any way. But it catches you. It catches you off, and you absolutely rattle it off. We need that. We need that sometimes. And it's
Yeah.
nice when you have people around who absolutely 100% do allow you to do that. And
Yes.
we know
Yes.
we're part of a group that we allow people to do those kind of things and stuff like that. So yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. So the premise of the shadow work is that victim and predator.
Predator.
We
And
are.
you had a very, very, very strong no about Predator. So if
Oh, I
you
don't
were
like the
working
term
on a
predator.
shadow, you're not.
I don't like the term predator.
No, but sometimes we can be. Sometimes we can be, and we might not mean to be.
Yeah.
But we'll say you and your wife, I know you love your wife and stuff. I know you love her very, very much. But we say you and her have arguments. You're
Yes.
starting to have arguments. You're drifting apart, and you want better for you.
Yes.
So unless you hurt her and be a predator and really, really hurt her, you're going to stay with her. But sometimes we have to hurt people for us.
Wow, this is a different take on things, Francis. This is a massively different take on things. I love this. This is
Yeah.
perspective. This is completely change. That's the whole premise of the podcast is bringing different points of view to the table, so that it can, for anyone that listens to this, they can sit there and go, "No, I completely disagree with that." 100%, you can disagree with that, but there's also wow. Because we had this conversation in the past. I would never go out of my way to upset somebody, but if what I'm saying at that point they're not ready to receive, I'm going to upset somebody.
Yeah. And you have to say as well, like, it is just a part of us. We might never use it, but it is a part of us. If someone broke into your house tomorrow and was attacking Carol, you would stand up for her and you would hurt them, which
Yeah.
turns you into the predator. And that is just, it's a part of us that when we accept it, we don't have to fight against it. We can just say, yeah, okay, this is just a part of me. I have these tendencies and it's okay.
So I know that one of my right. So I get it now. I completely understand that. I am fiercely loyal. I mean, I am
Yes.
absolutely fiercely loyal. And when that loyalty has been broken to what I think and to what I perceive as being broken, I take an absolute scunner to that. That's a Scottish word for disgust. Disgust for that loyalty. It's true. Very
Yes,
true.
yes.
Very true. And it can take me a while to get over
Yeah.
that. But that's the honesty of the podcast and stuff like that. Wow. Honestly, thank you. So what is there a number? Did I score well? That's my need for approval.
You've work to do. I know, but
Everybody's got work to do.
you're brilliant because you are so open. You're so open to receiving different viewpoints and different aspects that our first thoughts are, no, I am not that. The only thing that I had difficulty owning in this was that I was a leader. That was the only thing that I had difficulty owning, and that I was superior and inferior, because I always thought that I was very equal to people. But I've been doing that over the week, and yes, I am superior, because sometimes my knowledge, I am more knowledgeable in something, and I can't lead people and bring them up to my level if I am not superior. And the same with inferior. I'll never learn and I'll never go up to somebody else's level if I think that I'm equal to them. So they were the only ones that came up for me. I own everything. I own that I am stupid. I own that I'm stupid. I have done stupid things.
That's one
and
of my gifts.
Yeah, yeah. I can own the majority of these, and the more I do it, the more I can own, because you look at it like, so you're loyal and disloyalty triggers you. So what I would suggest is to look at what is good about being disloyal. What is good? What are the good aspects of being disloyal?
That if you become in the inner circle, I'll do anything for you. Does that make sense? I'll fight for you.
Yes.
And
But it's the disloyalty.
Yeah, the
Disloyalty.
disloyalty. Yeah, that I think I did a personality quiz or something like that, and it was, would you go out of you? In the past, I've gone out of my way when people have been disloyal. I'll own up to that. In the past, I've gone out of my way because you get hurt, and that was the reason. That was the how Monkey Mind started for me. Was I was hurting, and that's what I always remember. I remember to this day that when you are down, and you're backed against a wall, and when you are in that kind of victim mentality a little bit, or you come out, you lash out, you project, you're lashing out, and that's what we see in people because we're like, yeah, I was there, I get it. So I'll let
Yeah.
them have their explosions and I'll let them get it out, and then we can talk about it later and stuff like that. Whereas when you're in that mentality, that it just becomes the norm, doesn't it, of that lashing out and things like that. And it's horrible to see in people, but I'm sure we come from the same place, Francis. When you were down, 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 would
Yeah.
anything anybody say to you made any difference? You know, what what if I came along and said, "Are you all right? Do you need it?" No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. But you're sat
Yeah.
there going, "Oh no, I don't like my daughter. I can't stand looking at my daughter." And it just it piles up, it piles up, it piles up, and
It
it's
piles up. It feels lonely. It feels lonely. And that is the thing. That is when you are like that and you are down there and you think that people aren't understanding, it feels very lonesome. Like you're the only one that's there. And that is why conversations like this is so important. It's to
it is.
show people who might be there now that they're not alone. That it's really normal to feel like these things. It's really, really normal.
Yeah,
And help. The thing is, everybody wants to help you. It's just asking for that help that is the hard thing because we are afraid that we're going to be judged for it. We're afraid of that we are so uniquely terrible and disgusting that nobody wants to give us that help. Because that's how I felt. I felt like I was the worst person ever to see that in my daughter, to see no good in my daughter. And do you think I could tell people that? I couldn't tell people that. I
no,
couldn't because they'd judge me for being a bad parent. And then my greatest fear that I am a bad parent would be made right through somebody else's eyes.
yeah,
And I fought against that. And the more you fight against being a bad parent, the more it shows up in your life because that was my greatest fear. And I was afraid of coming clean to people in case they're like, yeah, you are terrible. And then I would be like, and then what? But I wasn't. Well, I was at the time, and that's okay because everybody has had times, every parent has had times where they are horrendous, where they are the worst parent going, and that's okay because we have moments that we're the best parent too.
yeah, yeah. I know we're going to start wrapping this up, and I'm sure we'll have to have another chat in the future because I know we talked about is the struggles that people go through. You kind of because you've come through the struggle yourself. The
Yeah.
first thing a lot of people try to do is say, "I'll go in and fix it," so that you don't go down the path that I went. I'll jump
Yeah.
in and stop you and drag you out. Come
Yeah.
with me. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. You have to.
Yeah.
The harsh reality of it is we have to let people go through that struggle because they have to be able to identify. I always tell everyone the same thing. I didn't know I was going through a terrible time. It was my wife that told me because I was like, no, I'm fine,
Yeah.
fine. Just everybody else, I'm fine. It was my wife that said whatever I was going through started to affect her, and I was like, what do you mean something I'm going through? Because you're like a vacuum. You're a vacuum, and you
Yeah.
just suck the energy out of the room. It's such a horrible thing, but you know that you you know that they have to go through that to get where they need to be. It's strange, isn't it? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
is it like Occam's
There's
razor? Is that the term that you've got to go through that to get through that? I don't think Occam's razor is the right term there at all. But
yeah.
it's the struggle, you know, that people have to go through because that once you start telling your struggle, it resonates with somebody else.
It is, and you do have to go through it to come out the other side and to learn from your experiences. And it's doing people an injustice if we try to fix it for them, I believe, because they
Yeah.
don't learn from that and they'll only recreate the experience at some stage down
Yes.
the line. And who's going to help them then? They have to want to do it for themselves and they have to do that. They have to do that work for themselves to come out the other side and look at things differently because every experience that we have, every crappy experience that we have brings unbelievable growth. unbelievable growth. I wouldn't be here now. I definitely wouldn't be here now if I hadn't reached that level, if I hadn't reached that low point, and thought of things differently and really looked at myself, because that's what that brought into me. I started looking at me. Instead of putting the blame on everybody outside of me, I was like, hold on now, she's perfect. And I had a picture of her on my wall, and I looked at her and I just seen her perfection, and I was like, it's not her, it's me. It has to be me. And that was where I started doing that inner work and be like, what is it in me that is bringing this out?
That's it. That's the question. When insecurity, judgment, and that's the question. When it fires off, and you're judging someone, or you got that comparison, comparing monster, as Jane calls it. What is it about me that is get offended by that? That's the trigger. The trigger is not them. No. It's something in me. That's the message we have to get out, is when you're getting triggered emotionally by these things, it's something in us, not them. And that's 100%. That inner work. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And it's hard to do it at the beginning, because it's hard to look inside yourself and be like, oh my goodness, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I'm a predator. I am stupid. I am whatever else was on that list. It's hard to look at yourself and relate to that in yourself. And I'm a bad parent. It is hard to do that, but the more we do it, the quicker we get at it. And the more, if we're triggered, we're quicker at picking at it, or we're like, okay, I'm being triggered. What is this? And we go straight in instead of being constantly putting the blame. The more we do it, the easier it gets, and the quicker we get, and the more we laugh at it. Like, I laugh at some of my triggers now. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I get it 100%. I love the fact that that's something I always do in the mindset courses that I do, is it's easier to work on one, which is I, than the 100 people that's causing you the frustration.
Yes.
Because I was there, and a lot of people are like, no, I'll just change these 100 people, then I can be happy.
Yeah.
No, change yourself.
Yeah.
Then everyone else is just you change it singular. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing.
And that's what I love about working with parents, especially, because we can get rid of friends, we can get rid of relationships, we can get rid of all these, but we cannot get rid of our kids. And they are the ones that trigger us the most, because we're stuck to them. We have to look at ourselves when we're your parents, because they keep triggering us, and they keep triggering us, and they make us look at us, because we can't just get rid of them. We can't. We have to face it. In order to be better parents and come out the other side, we have to face them triggers.
Brilliant. Fascinating. Good stuff. Honestly, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was fun.
It really was. Honestly, I'm going to say a massive thank you to everyone who's listened to this podcast. It was a good one. Lots of some really good detail for everybody. I'm Cuddy Cudworth, the proud founder of Monkey Mind Relaxation. Anybody who wants to get in contact, you're always more than welcome to get in contact via the website, monkeymindrelaxation.com. This is Monkey Mind Podcast, chatter about the chatter, those thoughts, that internal self-talk. And we're all about coaching you on how to change your thoughts and calm your monkey mind one thought at a time. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Frances. We can find you on your Facebook group, which is Parenting Yourself.
Yeah, reparenting, because I do inner child work. So reparenting, raise yourself first.
Raise yourself first. I will put that into the link as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Absolute pleasure, Frances. I'm sure we're going to have you on again in the future. Thank you so much for joining us. Big love from Cuddy. As always, I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast on Spotify and all streaming services. Thank you so much. See you soon. Goodbye. Bye.